Welcome, one and all. It's that time of the week again. This is the Shank Club NFL show, broadcasting live via Twitter, YouTube, Stitch, all over the place. My name's Nick Cork. Hope you're having a good Saturday so far. Good morning to all our usual viewers in the States. I'm sure we'll be getting some comments from them shortly. Pete, my usual co-host, is back with me today, although he does look like he's going on army manoeuvres, but I'm sure he'll tell us why. Pete, how you doing?
Hello, mate. This is just my salute to service session, mate. I haven't been able to do it, so I thought I would don the salute to service gear and in homage to the boys doing a great job. We salute you. Thank you very much for your service, guys.
There was me thinking you was going to go paintballing or something after the show, but you never know, Pete.
Paintball, you're fat.
How's your you've had a few days off, obviously, from work.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, you've been
everyone at work.
I'm guessing you've missed me, mate. I'm guessing you've missed me. I've just been doing some painting and decorating. Nothing exciting. As you know, I'd normally be off gallivanting, doing something around the world, but not so easy to do that nowadays, mate. So this is me. This is my holiday in my spare room, painting and decorating. It's not much fun, but I'm just glad that it's the weekend. And tomorrow is one of my favourite days, Sunday game day, and that's what it's all about, right? Sunday comes around all too quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just glad that the Niners haven't got a game this week because I don't then have to put up with that. So
Only got enough players for the game, have you?
But that's another story. Anyway, Pete, let's bring some guests on. We have got quite a few people backstage waiting to come on, so let's bring them on and say hello to them.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, 2 feet and bounds. Carl, usual to the show now. Good to have you on again, Carl. How you doing?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Yeah, very, very good. Thank you.
Excellent.
Very good.
How are you good?
Week's been good. A little bit stressful over the week, but a couple of things that I'm really, really happy with. The first one of all is I am back to the top of my league in fantasy. So that's all I got to say on that one. And last night, I was actually on a podcast for Scores on the Doors, 2 guys who do predictions for NCAA college football. So that was quite fun and quite interesting, whatever knowledge I have of college football anyway. But it was good fun nonetheless. And yeah,
Love it, didn't you?
My Patriots won last week. So, can't complain.
Yeah, done us a huge favour as well. So I was probably just as happy as you was on that game. So let's bring on our other guests. Obviously, with this being Steelers-Jaguars week, try to make the effort to get some of our favourite Jaguar friends on the show.
Jaguar friends.
And as you all know, Jack Whitehall is the biggest celebrity Jacksonville fan there he is. Sorry, Robson, I have to do it every time.
Mate, it's fine. Don't you worry. How are we doing, guys? All right?
Yeah, very good, Rob.
Good to see you, Robson.
Good to see you again, mate. Good to have you back on again as well. Always a pleasure when we have you on. As I put out on Twitter when I said who we were having on the show, everyone that's returning guests this week have been with us from the start, and we appreciate you. As you know, like with anything, you kind of remember all of a sudden you think, I haven't had Robson on for ages. I haven't had the Believing Jaguars on. And it's sort of like, wow, we could have like a full house of guests this week. So it's good that you're back. We really appreciate you spending some time with us today, Pete, don't we?
Yeah, it looks like everyone's queuing up in backstage. It looks like we're going to have a full house on the show today, mate. So it's going to be an absolute belter. When we did the Jag show way back in pre-season, we were fortunate enough to get 2 guys over from the States from the Believe in the Jags podcast. Going to bring Phil the Filipino. Here he is. Phil's joining us today. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, what's up, gentlemen? Good to be back, and it's good to see all faces, and glad to hear that everyone is safe and healthy. Most importantly, so if we only knew what was on its way back in the
exactly. I mean, you came on before it really sort of kicked off globally. So, As you say, if we'd have known then what we know now, it's been a crazy year so far. But as you say, everyone's healthy, everyone's here. and it's just great to have you on again, Phil, and we really appreciate you.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get into the matchup this week and also just talk about the NFL in general, because Jay and I don't really get to do a lot of that. Honestly, we got to cover this team.
Well, yeah, it must be a hard job when you just cover one team. I mean, we're lucky that although I'm a Niners fan, Pete's a Steelers fan, etc., we can quite easily talk about it. We talk about the NFL every week, so we're in that respect we're lucky. We're not just having to speak about one team, and so in that respect, I think we're kind of lucky, Pete.
We are, mate. Yes, indeed. And obviously, Phil talking about his sidekick. Let's bring James on, his partner in crime when it comes to Believe in the Jags podcast. James, nice of you to join us again.
What's going on, gentlemen? Thanks for having me. And Phil, again, man, can't wait to finally talk some football in general. Like Phil said, we don't get to really show our versatility. But funny story, how we started was doing a podcast covering the league nationwide, basically, in the NFL in general. We called it Gridiron Season. So that was one of our old classics that's hitting somewhere.
It was horrible. It was terrible.
That's why I said it was hitting. It's hitting somewhere on the internet where we won't disclose. But yeah, man, glad to be back. Glad to see Robson. Glad to get to finally meet Carl as well. And yeah, I can't wait to get talking some football, man. And get this behind whooping over with tomorrow for the Jags.
Oh, it's coming. Sadly enough.
You know what? I wish normally I am still going to pick against the Steelers. I always do. So I've got, when we do the picket thing, and I'll probably be the only
anyway.
Your consolation.
I've got to do that anyway, just because it's Pete. So it wouldn't matter if they were playing a varsity team. I'd still pick against the Steelers because it's just what I have to do, I'm afraid.
The Jags consolation prize at the end of the season is going to be Justin Fields anyway. So
that's what we're hoping. Right.
They're actually doing us a favor with a win with this one. We have some fans over here that's actually hoping for a blowout for purposes of ensuring that Shad Khan gets rid of the present regime. So, hey, we'll see. Well,
we'll play our part. Don't worry, James. We'll play our part in that. So.
Before we get going, I would like to say there is something I saw on Twitter 4 or 5 days ago. There's rumors going around that apparently you've asked Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit to all vote for Yannick Ngakoue into the Pro Bowl because you want a higher draft pick, correct?
Look, if Jags are good at anything, Jag fans, I should say, it's being petty and making sure that we get our money's worth. Because I'm not sure who started that. Robson Jay, I don't know if you guys know who it was, but shouts out to that man. Put him in the pride of the Jaguars right now.
Yeah, it was some guy from Reddit that started it. And, in this time that we're going through in this country, look, this is what it is. The Jaguars are uniting the country in some way, shape, or form. So, look, we're trying to put together several fan bases here, and we've succeeded in doing so. And like Phil said, shout outs to that person because the Jaguars can be quite petty.
Well,
Nick, we got some more people to bring on, I believe, down the bottom, have we?
No, yeah, there's a couple more down there to bring on. Obviously, I don't want to be waving the Steelers flag all on my own. So do you want to introduce one of your friends and star of the show, Stan, and we'll bring him on?
Bring him on. Right, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching, this is Stan Hay, celebrity Steelers fan. He has written quite a few sitcoms and dramas, I think you'd say, Stan. What would you call my favourite show of all time? What would you say Auf Wiedersehen Pet was? Is it a drama?
Comedy drama.
Comedy drama. So glad to see you back on, Stan. Last time we had you on, I know your wife wasn't very well and she'd had COVID and things like that. So how is she now?
She's fine. She's been doing the cleaning today, so that's very good. It's good.
She's definitely all right then if you got her cleaning. Well done.
Yeah, no, she was out of the game for about 2 weeks with a bad cough, And, I was like a nurse and Nigella cleaning and medicine and cooking and everything. But there was a few moments of alarm, but we were isolated, got ourselves through it, and she's okay now.
That's good. That's good news, because I know, as I said, she was quite ill, and so we're glad about that. And can't wait to do some more talking with you about the Steelers and all things NFL.
Yeah, I don't think
the Pet shirt on as well.
With our Vision Pet one on today, yeah. So
Stan, who'd have thought we'd be doing this show today, sitting here saying the Steelers are 9-0, eh?
I didn't expect that. No, absolutely baffling, really. But we'll take it, as they say.
Indeed, we'll certainly get into the Steelers shortly. But last but not least, friend of the show, good pal, Scott. What you doing, buddy? All the way over from the States. You keeping well?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're all hanging in there. We're all doing good.
We're doing well, Scott. Are you not putting out road cones or hunting this week? You haven't got your tabard on?
No, not today. Got rained out, it looks like, today. So
Too bad. Whereabouts are you still camping, are you, Scott, or are you back home now?
no,
You're back home.
yep. Yeah, the camp's only about 45 minutes from the house. Anyway. So we didn't head out last night. It's supposed to rain all day today. Be real windy. So we're going to try to back out tomorrow. But I was ready to talk some football. So
Excellent stuff. Well, we had to have someone representing the second best team in the NFL on the show today. So, Scott, thank you very much for coming on. Nick, where should we start the show? Should we start with the only game that anyone's interested in this week? The Steelers and
the Niners are on a bye week. That's the only thing I'm interested in. But yeah, as we've got our friends from the Believe in Jaguars podcast and Jack Whitehall on, it only seems right that we should kick it off there. One thing before we get into the game, etc., I'm just quite interested in what the Jaguars guys' takes are on your QB situation at the moment, because obviously Gardner Minshew is out still, I believe, with an injury. And Jake Luton, is that his name? Jake Luton? Yeah, he's filling in. And from what I've seen, and I haven't seen a lot of them, but it doesn't seem, it's kind of like the QB situation in San Francisco to a certain extent, that you're not any better and you're kind of as you are with the other QB in there. What's your take on your QB situation? Obviously, I know you're probably going to end up drafting one, I would guess. I don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. But do you feel confident with those two going forward, or is it you need someone else? What do you, Phil, what do you think?
Well, I'm pretty certain that a majority of the fan base has moved on to wanting one of those guys, right? Whether it be Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, most likely Justin Fields. With Jake Luton, I think what we've seen out of the first couple of games is actually pretty promising. He just got activated when he right before his first start. And, for the lack of preparation, with everything going on right now, he looked pretty solid. Jay and I talked about this the other day. Jake Luton makes throws that Gardner Minshew cannot. And if you do go another route in the draft, then I think they may be evaluating Jake Luton to possibly be the number 2 going forward. Jay had the opportunity to join a Pittsburgh radio station the other day, and he said it really, really well. I think he's definitely played well enough to be the backup quarterback of the future. So it's you're definitely going to have your struggles. He's certainly not a guy that's going to be a long-term answer. But for right now, I mean, he's doing his job, and I wouldn't be surprised if come the off season maybe Minshew is being shopped.
Yeah, I will add to that. Basically, for me, Luton, like Phil said, it feels like he could be vying or going for a number 2 job with the team. I also want to say, basically, with Luton, as Phil also alluded to, I think what coaches will see and scouts will see, or what scouts did see when they drafted him, is the height, weight, and the speed. And of course, prototypical size is something that in a coach's mind and in a scout's mind, you know, that's something that they're big on. And he definitely has that over Gardner Minshew and so on and so forth. So, you know, the key will be this Steelers game, I believe, because the Steelers game it presents him the biggest challenge that he's had. The Steelers defense is better than Green Bay's defense. The Steelers defense is eons better than the Texans defense. So it's not even close with the Texans. So he's going to get a challenge. And I think like this is a grand opportunity for him to establish himself as Gardner Minshew continues to work his way back, because Minshew, he began throwing, but to our knowledge, it might have been just against air. So he's not like quite ready yet. The way Doug Marrone put it is basically he's not 100% yet. So we're thinking like he's at like more along the lines of 50 to 70%. So this week, I think if Luton really has a good game against this elite Pittsburgh Steelers defense, that would speak volumes for him remaining the quarterback, the number one quarterback, at least for now, for the rest of the season. And I think he realizes that, and I think it's possible that, you know, maybe even Gardner Minshew realizes that. And we'll see if he steps to the occasion and, you know, maybe make a name for himself against a very good team.
Robson,
I
what's
mean, you were in that
your
game last week.
Sorry, mate. Go on, Nick. Go on.
You were in that game last week, the bit that I saw near the end. You were still in the game right to the end, which was quite surprising. And then obviously a bit like the game I watched the other night with the Seahawks and the Cardinals, he just made a few errors at the end. So, yeah, he's got something about him, definitely. I wouldn't want to pick between the two because I don't, as you say, they're both probably would be solid backups, but obviously you can't have two backups on the team. So if they do go down the draft route, it will certainly be interesting. Sorry to just jump in there, Pete. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I was just going to ask Robson sort of what he felt. I mean, are we pretty sure now that Minshew isn't the man moving forward for the Jags, and you feel that there is potential for them to possibly sort of use him as trade bait? Because, you know, obviously beginning of the season, Minshew was the man, the franchise guy that was going to be taking the Jags, you know, to that next level. So have they do you think they've sort of made a decision now, even when he comes back from injury, that's it? They're going to cut their losses and possibly stick with Luton and then obviously look to get a QB in the draft?
Well, I think it's a case of, firstly, it's a good headache to have, really, if you're looking at trying to bring someone in the draft, as it does more like the look that they're going to do. I think to have that competition at QB2 is massive for any team, and it's always good to have someone that's obviously the pedigree's there to obviously come in and try and perform when you need them to, which is a big thing also. I just think overall they're just two totally different players in terms of how they go about it. It's just quite unfair that both of them haven't had the crack through in terms of having the full roster or the full offensive defensive side to be fully fit and firing to get a fair representation of how they can play, really. Because I know that obviously this week we're going to miss some key bits on offense and stuff like that. I know Minshew, when he was starting, that was the same case. Because I think through the season, I think Phil and James will agree, there's been some really good moments where everything's seeming to have clicked for a period of time on various different drives. It looks really, really good. But I think as the guys have just said there as well, it does look like it's set up to we're going to go with someone else further forward. And as you say, we could end up having to decide between two guys that I think the mainstay of the coaching staff at the minute do like both of them. But obviously, if that's to change in the off season or within a few weeks, that could be a different story come then. So it's really up in the air. But it's just positive to see some good things coming out. Obviously, backs against the wall being in the position that we're in and how bad it does look on paper. Most of the time we are in a lot of games. I think it's shown we've only been blown out a few times. There's been a few games where we've just not been at the races. But overall, like, there's nothing that really I expected more than this, really. I was optimistic in the pre-season, but I think looking at it and how it's all gone, how the cards have been dealt, I think it's a fair representation of obviously where we're at as a franchise as a whole, really, not just individuals as well.
Yeah, that's it. I think people need to remember that you are still the youngest team in the NFL. You've got a lot of people there, and I think there's a lot of good things to take. It's just you guys just aren't sort of getting the win. And this is why I'm a little bit fearful. I'm not saying trap game by any means for the Steelers, but from what I've seen of the Steelers this year, I'm very concerned that with Luton there, with the power that he's got throwing the ball, I really get the feeling you're going to get the likes of Cole, Sharp, and that going deep, and he's going to sort of test our secondary. And with Robinson, which is, he's looking like a real strong player at running back, I'm quite fearful of the Jags offense in this game because I know our defense has been good, and if we can get pressure on Luton, we're going to sort of see what the guy is made of. But I really do fear that. I think it's Vegas are doing a 10.5 point swing on this game, but I've got a horrible feeling this is going to be exactly the same as the Dallas game. The Jags are going to stay in it. They're going to keep chucking it out there. I think if they can find little gaps in the run game and sort of keep it going, and then Luton is still a relatively there's not much tape on the guy, and the skill players that the Jags have got. I don't think that this is going to be a one-sided game. I think this is going to be a real test for the Steelers. I really do. And I know there's probably a lot of people that are going, it's 10.5 swing. Steelers are massive favourites. I really don't see it. I think this could be a 3-point game and be a real test for the Steelers. I really do. Stan, I don't know what you sort of feel in perspective as a Steelers fan. How are you feeling? Are you confident in this game, or are you a little bit sort of wary like I am on this one?
I share your feelings really, because I think that if you're 9-0, there's a lot of complacency must come into it. And you look who you're up against, and you think, well, we just have to sort of go through the motions here, and we've got it in the bag, And apart from the last week's win, the previous 2 games, we won by interceptions in the end game, Exactly. So we're not as good as we think we are at the moment. We're getting results, but here and there, and then they've had to shore up the run and things like that, So, and the other thing is the Jaguars have got nothing to lose. They might as well just go out there and enjoy themselves, and have a go, unless they really want to get the pick, outjet the Jets. But I think, and historically, I remember a few years ago when they did the playoffs a few times, different personality, I think, but there is that sort of, shadow over the game in a way that you think, oh well. They can still do it here and there. There's a muscle memory in the squad or in the club that makes sense. It gives the Steelers another going over it. So I don't take it for granted by any means. I'm more confident of beating the Ravens again. Than we are. Let's put it that way. But I think it'll be a tight game. Than really. So.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a close game. And I just feel that the weaknesses of the Steelers could really be exploited. And I feel that the special teams for the Jags is looking good. I'm just scared every time that their guy, Cole, gets the ball. Looks like he's sort of going to run it sort of, back into the opposing half every time. It's going to give him good field position. And I just seriously, I think the Steelers will do what they always do and just do enough. They'll work them out. They'll just do enough. I'm really, really disappointed with our run game this season. We've had a franchise record. The fact that we've gone 3 weeks back to back with running yards under 50 yards, which is not good at all. But obviously, Big Ben is managing the offense, and it is looking good in the passing game. But our run is terrible. So if the Jags can somehow work out how to stop them throwing it all over the field, it could go either way. If the Jags don't turn up and they want to choke, it will be nice and easy like it was against the Bengals. But I still think that they're going to show up, and the youngsters are going to sort of try. Am I right in thinking CJ Henderson's out for this game as well, cornerback? So that could certainly sort of try and exploit that. But like James, what are the weaknesses that we need to sort of try and make sure the Steelers are sort of trying to find in the Jags? Because I think offensively, apart from Jake Luton being young, they look all right. Is it just obviously on the other side of the ball, the defense, that they're really struggling this year?
Well, I will say this: Jake Luton he doesn't have the touch, or it appears he doesn't have the accuracy that Gardner Minshew has. At least when Gardner Minshew is healthy, that's the difference. Is one guy is one guy that's going to put it on the dime. One guy is and this is Gardner Minshew that I'm talking about. Is the guy you would trust to throw a back shoulder fade or a wide variation of these key type of throws that you need in the red zone. Jake Luton, again, more is a power guy. He's learning to take mustard off of the ball, as they say, And in terms of the weaknesses, now I would definitely say we are similar to the Steelers when it comes to stopping the run. And in fact, we might be worse than the Steelers. I was going to say we're a little bit sporadic like the Steelers because I share that concern with you, Pete. But my thing is with Tyson Alualu back into the equation, he helps tremendously. He really does.
I think I saw a stat, James, with him in it averages 1.9 yards per rush. With him out, something like 5.4. It's a huge difference with him in the middle.
Yeah, he's a monster in the run game, former Jaguar, and it's funny that he's the key to James Robinson not running wild. It's weird, but in terms of the Jags, yeah, they struggle against the run. Earlier in the season, they weren't winning one-on-one pass rush situations in the trenches, so that hurt their pass rush. Now they're starting to win those, and this kind of goes back to, I believe I said this the last time I was on you all's show. Todd Wash has this ability, while we as fans don't like what he's done as a defensive coordinator and they want him gone, he has this ability when you give him time, and it's starting to show again, he can develop young defensive linemen. Devon Hamilton is wrecking havoc in the middle. Like, he's had 3 straight games where he's like grading super positively in PFF standards. So we're talking about a 3rd round rookie here that's playing nose tackle. Then they got some effort out of, or I won't even say effort, but they got a good surprise out of Doug Costin against the Texans the last time we played him from the 3 technique position. He was the guy that, was pushing the pocket. And, that's something that we really needed because, as people all know, Josh Allen hasn't been able to get home because the pocket hasn't been pushed. So that being said, I think, like, if you hit the Jaguars in the mouth first and you can make them stray away from James Robinson in the run game, because that's been the issue, is Jay Gruden will start calling these plays when he's behind and he'll completely forget about James Robinson, and James Robinson won't register 20 carries or more. If you can get him away from giving James Robinson 20 carries or more, then you probably can end up winning this game. I think this is a game, and I said it on the Steelers radio station 93.7. I think you can probably tell how this game is going to go early in the game, like first quarter. And if the Jaguars stick around and the Jaguars don't struggle out of the gate as they have earlier in the season, if they have a good first quarter, chances are they're going to linger throughout the game. They might not win it, but they're going to linger there to the 4th quarter, chances are. But if the Steelers punch them in the mouth early and it looks bad for the Jaguars early, then they probably got it in the bag.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking Robinson was an undrafted free agent? He didn't get. I mean, how do these guys slip through the net? I mean, this guy's got some skills. Is it Illinois State? Illinois. Where did he come from?
Illinois State. I think it's they are the Cardinals or either the Redbirds. Is one of the two. It's a fairly unpopular school. But the funny story about him is, in May I put him on our roster breakdown, and people were like, "Who is this undrafted kid, and why do you think he's going to make the team?" And I was like, put on a film of this young man. He doesn't necessarily have like this game-breaking speed. He's not going to run away from you in terms of that, but he does have nice acceleration past the line of scrimmage. But this isn't Maurice Jones-Drew in terms of a sprint race. He doesn't have 4.3 speed. He's a 4.6 guy, and that's exactly why he fell to the Jaguars and was undrafted, because people looked at that 4.6 speed, but they didn't look at what he could do from the range of 1 to 5 to 8 yards, which is what you need in the NFL in these days. You need the tough yardage. You don't need a guy that's going to go out there and smoke the whole defense. I mean, that's what the Jaguars drafted Leonard Fournette, was to get the tough yardage. And look, they're getting it out of this young man who came out of the draft that was undrafted and a lot of people overlooked.
Running backs have got more good value when they're lower down the draft board or undrafted than you are, say, picking them up in the 1st round, because they just decline after a couple of years. Take a look at what's happened to Ezekiel Elliott, for example.
Yeah, I think there's a few. I was going to come up to because obviously last week we were talking about the quarterback power rankings, and we were laughing that Roethlisberger was at number 5. Obviously, AFC Offensive Player of the Week, another 4 TDs. Seems like he deserves his spot on that power rankings now. What do you reckon?
Let me take a deep breath a second. You played the fucking Bungles. You played the Cincinnati Bengals. Come back to me when you've actually beaten a decent team.
You know,
You can only beat what's in front of you, mate. You can only beat what's in front of you.
that's his argument. You can only
Best
second
team in the
easiest.
You played a but you played a carpet last week. You played a carpet last week.
Yeah. Me and Carl could have started for the Bungles last week. So don't, you are heading for a fall, and it could be this week. If Jacksonville can get the run game going and stop and make the Steelers more one-dimensional, and they get a bit of a pass rush, and they don't have to cut the D, don't have to cover for 6 to 7 seconds, they do have an outside chance if they can stay in it. They could win it. Now,
You
I'm
saw-
surprised because if you
Go on.
guys from the Jaguars wouldn't have been on here, he would have been going, we're going to piss this game. They're rubbish, the Jaguars.
I haven't said
Yeah.
that all season, and you'll be surprised when you listen to most Steelers fans, even though we are 9-0. Pretty much all of us are still not convinced of what we're doing. We are. I would say we're finding more negatives in this 9-0 team than we are positives, and that for me, I think, is a bonus. No one in the media is bigging us up. I mean, you watch the highlight reel or you listen to other podcasts, and they're 6th, 7th game that people are talking about, which is great. But
Against the Bungles, nobody cares.
it doesn't matter if it's the Bungles. We are the team which is 9-0, mate. The first time in franchise, one of the biggest franchise, along with the Patriots, with 6 Super Bowl wins, and they're currently 9-0, which they've never done before. And I don't think it's getting the respect that it deserves.
I actually do fear that you go 16-0, you'll fall first round out of the playoffs.
Well, me
And
and
that'll be
Nick were
fucking
having a
embarrassing.
massive argument.
That'll be so embarrassing.
Play, you are going 16-0. And if you do, I hope you do chuck in the first.
Well, let's get an impartial view.
16-0
Hold on.
means nothing.
Let's get an impartial view.
Making Nick.
Scott,
I'll say this for Pete and Stan. I understand their concerns because of the Jaguars and Steelers history. And what I will say for Pete and Stan, though, is their history in the Steelers' history in Jacksonville is pretty good as of late. So I think that's the X factor. Now, if it was in Heinz Field, I would probably faint too if I was a Steelers fan too. I wouldn't want it in Heinz Field because for whatever the Jaguars didn't win in Heinz Field.
Yeah, sorry to cut you there, Jane. But if you actually in your last matchup when Pittsburgh did go into Jacksonville, if you actually did have a quarterback instead of Lord Bortles, you would have actually have won that game.
Facts.
Facts, yeah.
Facts. And I mean, like they said, I mean, I understand it because look, when you look at the Jaguars team, me and Phil have said this, they do not look like a 1-win team with all the skill positions they have. And this is probably, you can argue, it didn't hit me until like we got on this podcast and y'all started talking about it. You can argue that this might be the most dangerous 1-win team you'll ever see. Like literally, I mean, yeah, they can't play defense to save their lives, but in terms of DJ Chark and Robinson, like when you look at 1-win team, you can't find that many skill position guys on one team, and it's odd to say the least. Which is kind of why, like, I guess in the States, people have been banging the table, like, hey, it's more so coaching and the need for a quarterback that is the issue here than the actual roster itself.
Well, James, this is exactly why I was saying that I was
Yeah, and to
scared.
expand on that, Jay.
You are a scary 1-win team, that's for sure.
Do
So
you
the
think, with regards to obviously some of the Jaguar results, it's because the defense are on the field for too long and they are getting tired and going on, and then at the end of the game they're just all shot like middle of the fourth quarter or something, because obviously if you're not putting up a lot of offense and your defense is out there more, they're obviously getting more and more worn down. And again, it could happen this week with the Steelers that they wear you down and then all of a sudden James Conner will have a big fourth quarter because they are so physically tired. Do you think that has played a part this year in a lot of your results? Because as you say, you're better than your record really does suggest this year.
Well, I'm gonna let Phil go first because he was about to say something too.
Yeah, answer your the question first. That was definitely the case early on. As Jay mentioned, for the longer that Todd Wash gets his hand on this defense, last week in Green Bay, they were finally able to generate a pass rush. And, like you said, a couple things go a different way, and then maybe they're pulling off the upset. But yeah, defensively, they've just been out of it. I mean, one bright spot, of course, has been Miles Jack, who is playing like a top 3 linebacker in the league. He's the third highest graded linebacker of 2020, according to PFF. And just getting him back into his natural position has been, made the biggest difference. And getting Joe Schobert in there, I know a lot of fans have been a little frustrated with Schobert, but I really think he's just kind of still trying to find his footing. But I mean, CJ Henderson has looked good at times. Sidney Jones has really been kind of one of the bright stars of this defense, picking him up and adding him to the practice squad and then getting him activated. And he has been excellent since he has stepped in. But one thing, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, they're both out, aren't they? CJ and Sidney Jones, I think, are out this week, aren't they?
Sidney is questionable.
Okay,
but
that's good.
like you said, Phil, he's one to watch because when in history, there's always the X factor in the secondary for the Jaguars. When you look at this matchup, historically, that has been Rasheem Mathis. Rasheem Mathis just has been Roethlisberger's number for some reason. If Sidney Jones could be that person if he plays tomorrow, but the question is, will he play? But yeah, you can go ahead and continue, my man.
Yeah, I just wanted to get clarification on that. So just like Jay said, we'll probably know in the first quarter because, Ben and that offense, they're smart enough to know, hey, let's test out what these guys got. Because if we're going out there with just Trey Herndon and Chris Claybrooks, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Yeah, it's nice to see, though, the defense, at least over the last couple of weeks, has finally been able to pick up a pass rush. I know for some reason, Robson, I'm sure you've seen this too, a portion of the fan base has been irritated with Josh Allen, but he's got no help. He's got no assistance. He went from having Yannick Ngakoue and Calais Campbell, 2 elite pass rushers, to a rookie in Kayvon Chason, and he's just continues to learn. So it's kind of frustrating, but I do expect the defense to play pretty well down the stretch, even though early on it's definitely been a struggle.
Yeah, and to answer the question, in terms of the defense being on the field a lot, yeah, I mean, it was a few times where that was the case where, Gardner Minshew and company couldn't get going and they were just sending the defense on the field quickly. But I think more so this year has been a year more so that we've witnessed where we didn't want the defense on the field, especially in the first and second quarters. It was like it used to be protect Blake Bortles from seeing the field too much with the defense. Now it used to be, but now, especially in that first half of the season, now that the defense has come on strong, it's a little differently. But in the first half of the season, it was protect this defense with the offense and James Robinson is what our mindset was, at least. So, yeah, I don't really think like the offense has had too many of those moments where they sent the defense on the field quickly. It's just that early in the season, they just weren't winning one-on-one pass rush situations, and pretty much quarterbacks could sit there earlier in the season and pretty much grill burgers in the pocket against them, in my opinion.
Is it Kayvon Chason? Is he the dude that come out of LSU?
Yeah.
I was listening to the Steelers Depot podcast, and they had a guy from Jacksonville on there, and pretty much saying that obviously he got drafted, but they put him into a completely different situation to what he was in at LSU, and they're not playing him to his advantage. But he's actually being really good. But the fact that they've drafted him into a scheme that doesn't suit him, and they're trying to change him as a player, these are sort of some of the sort of crazy sort of decisions that it seems that the Jacksonville sort of hierarchy are making. And then this is the problem. It's the wrong decision making that's going on in the higher office rather than necessarily the players that you've got there. It's the decision making that's going on outside of the team. And is this still the case by the sounds of it, guys?
Robinson and Phil, that is exactly the case. And especially with Kayvon. And here's why I say that, because early in the season, and me and Phil, I don't know if we sat in on this presser or not, or we watched it on Jaguars.com. We might have watched it on Jaguars.com. But from the sounds of it at first, it sounded like the Jaguars, when they first drafted K'Lavon Chaisson, they were going to put him at strong side linebacker and use him at 2-point stance at some degree. Not necessarily a bunch of downs, but some degree. He hasn't been in 2-point stance. He's been in 3-point stance playing defensive end. But, it just felt like from what we were hearing from the front office that they had plans to stand him up a little bit, do what more so he was comfortable with at LSU, and we have yet to see that. He's mostly predominantly played defensive end, and I knew that would be if that was going to be the case. I knew he would be in trouble because he's one of those guys that is kind of like what they call back in the day. I guess the scouts used to call him a tweener, who doesn't necessarily has that build that you want in terms of a true, consistent defensive end. He's a guy that you probably do need to stand up from 2-point stance and rush him from a variety of spots. And again, that's been the moral of the story with Todd Washington's defense. He doesn't put people in the best position for them to succeed at times. And that's the case for K'Lavon Chaisson. And I think next year, if you get a new defensive coordinator, that coordinator will heavily consider that. And they might heavily even consider moving to a 3-4, because this is a team that does have 3-4 pieces and can maybe flourish with a scheme change.
And getting back on the Steelers, what are you hoping to see from our boys this week? Obviously, have you been able to sort of watch them every week? Have you been impressed, not impressed, wondering how the hell we're 9-0?
For me, the guy that stands out to me, and I said this back in January when I watched film on him, the guy that looked the best at the Senior Bowl in terms of the receivers was Chase Claypool. And I was like, y'all watch out for that young man. Watch out for him. And lo and behold, it is translating. Didn't you guys get him in like the 3rd round or something like that?
We got him in the 2nd round, but I think there was 11 wide receivers or 10 wide receivers that got picked before him in the 1st round. It was a massively wide receiver heavy draft. And obviously, the Steelers saw something in him, which I guess a few other teams didn't. And this guy has already become one of the probably the best receiver that we've got so far. I mean, Stan, what have you seen from Chase Claypool? Because this guy has been a monster, Stan, hasn't he? What a joy he is to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I was on last time, I mentioned that they picked him and I mentioned the size of him really. He was 6'3", 6'4", or something, and had a good record and everything. But he's been sensational, by and large, And even though he's obviously getting more attention now, it's allowed Schuster to get more freedom. As last year, then Schuster was being double teamed virtually in every game, and we couldn't get any points up really. Struggling, with the various quarterbacks as well. But he's great, because he not only is he a good catcher, but he's he turns and moves still. He gets yard after yard after catch. So he's good. Washington's come up good, So we've got a 3-pronged, receiving attack now as well. I mean, the running game is still poor, compared to the rest of the outline. But I think he's doing well, He doesn't seem like he seems very level-headed and not boastful and sort of bling and all that sort of stuff. He just seems like he's a modest kind of kid, He's Canadian, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I mean, I think this is something that coming out of the draft, his coach from Notre Dame said that this guy will do anything for the team. He'll play special teams. He'll do whatever he wants to do. And you can see when he plays, and I think for me, that is the biggest thing that I take from this kid is he plays with a huge smile on his face. He wants to play ball. He'll do whatever he's told. He's still playing in special teams. He's sweeping around the back. He's making runs. He's on the sideline. He's in the slot. He does everything for the team, whatever he's told. And the guy's a rookie. He is making the odd mistake, but he's also making huge plays. And I mean, the guy is a difference maker. And the fact that next year, with the salary cap being as low as what it could be, 175 mil, we're going to possibly lose players like Juju. So the fact that you've got Claypool coming in and looking like a monster, there's probably a lot of teams that are looking, thinking, why did we not pick this kid earlier? Because I'm sure there's some other receivers there that, maybe it's just Ben making him look good. I don't know. I mean, Scott, you've been pretty quiet down there. What do you see out of, a Kansas City looking at the Steelers thinking, oh my God, how on earth are they 9-0? And if we see them in the playoffs, we'll be fine. Or are they thinking, nah, they're looking pretty good? Or are KC still sitting there on a leather sofa, cigar on, thinking that this is another Super Bowl they're going to be winning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you're sitting there sweating the best team in the NFL playing one of the worst teams in the NFL. What, you think it's going to be close, and you're trying to find all these reasons that they're not going to win. They're the best team.
I'm not saying they're the best team. I'm just saying they're not getting the respect for being 9-0.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time, buddy. Hey, they, they're 9-0, and
Go on, Scott. Give it to him. Give it to him.
The Jaguars have put a scare into some people. They keep bringing up this Packers game, but the Packers defenses and all that. I mean, they've had some close games, and they got waxed by a couple teams. I think the 49ers, or I can't. Who was the team they lost to last? Where it was just maybe it was the Buccaneers. I think it was Tampa Bay just came in and cleaned their clock and scored a bunch of points on them. So, yeah, the Jaguars, they got some decent pieces with Chark and the Minshew thing. I don't understand why Minshew mania came to a screeching halt. I mean, the guy's hurt. He before he got hurt, he was great. I know if you play fantasy football, you know he puts up some pretty good stats and plays pretty well. I know that's not reality football, but a lot of that translates over when you look at the numbers and the stats and the performances overall. Jaguars defense has been on the decline since a couple of years ago, and they had Saxonville, and that was kind of carrying the team. And so yeah, they've kind of fallen back off. But the Steelers, it's hard to tell. They, you don't get to be 9-0 if you're not good. So I think a team like the Chiefs looks at them, and I don't know. We're looking at maybe they were going to increase capacity at these stadiums, and maybe home field advantage was going to mean more. But now we're getting more. We're not locked down over here, but we're getting tighter restrictions, and they're starting to kind of ramp this stuff back up like they were in March. So maybe that's not going to happen. So maybe the home field isn't as big of a deal as we thought it was going to be, maybe even a couple months or a couple weeks ago. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I just every year, there's teams that get to 7, 8, 9-0, and are they going to go undefeated? And there's always a loss or 2 or 3 there down the stretch. The Chiefs nipping at their heels, maybe keep them on their toes. Maybe they don't take the last week off, which a lot of teams would do.
A nice win from the Raiders against your boys would really, really be a sweet deal for us this week.
Yeah, that would help. I don't see that. I think the Raiders have the Chiefs' full attention this week. I don't think there's going to be any more slip-ups and overlooking the Raiders. So, but yeah,
they are the team that beat you last time, aren't they?
That's right.
They're the only team that beat them this year. Yeah, definitely. And we're going to get into that. Right. Now this is my favourite part of the show, because I do like this, because we could have some Steelers go 13. But yeah, they're pretty much
schedule every week to buy.
But right, let's pick some games, because I do like this. We could have some lone wolf situations as well, which is always good. So let's start off with Steelers versus Jags. Who's winning this one? Carl, talk to me.
I'd like to give the Jags some hope. If you can get,
you don't have
if you can get to Big Ben, the Jags may have a chance.
No one's getting to Big Ben at the minute.
You did the other week. He had 2 dodgy knees. Oh dear, what your season toilet.
I've got to take Pittsburgh in this game. I just don't see it.
Okay.
Sorry, Jack, but I can't see it.
Dan, who are you going for? Steelers or Jags, or is that a stupid question?
No, it's not stupid. I mean, I'm stick with the Steelers, but I don't think it's going to be an easy day, really. I mean, like the Bengals was. The Bengals sort of lay down, really. I thought the Bengals would put them more of a fight. And I refer back to the other game at Dallas. Dallas seemed to be, out on the deck, and we only sneaked it right at the end. It's almost like we need to be frightened before we get motivated. That could happen. They go to sleep and need to save the game later on. But I think we'll win it. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means.
Scott, who have you got?
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers. I think are going to win the game. Now, whether it's close or not, you could debate that. But yeah, I think Steelers are the winner.
Robson, going now. We're going to leave the three Jags fans to see if they're going to pick against themselves or they're going for their team. Robson.
Yeah, I took some stick for being very optimistic on the podcast I do for my page, and it's people was thinking I'm just in a fantasy world where I think the Jags are always in a game, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as people make it out to be. I think last week surprised me with the Packers. I had them wrote off on every single bet or every single prediction I had, so I think the Steelers are going to do it, but I think it'll be closer than what people think it will be. That's as fair as well.
I think the Desert definitely on that 10-point spread are being a bit optimistic. Phil, who are you going for in this game?
Yeah, still gonna roll. Still going with Pittsburgh. I think a lot will tell if a lot will depend on if Sidney Jones plays, whether or not this is going to be close. I would definitely hammer that under though. If you're a betting person, then I mean 10 points. Like we've said, the history between these two teams is usually relatively close games. So I think it could be closer, but I'm definitely still going with Pittsburgh.
Looks like there could be a clean sweep or maybe not. Let's see. James, who are you going for?
Do it, Jay.
Well, I can't change my pick because it's in the newspaper. And that pick was for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, so yes, it came out Wednesday, 27-21. I do think it'll be close though. Because of the simple fact, like Phil said, just the history between these two teams. And look, Stan and Pete have every right to be nervous because if the role was flipped and the Jaguars were undefeated and the Pittsburgh Steelers only had one game that they won, and this game was in Heinz Field, me, Phil, and Robertson will be nervous about that too. That's just how crazy the history of this game has been. It's just when you meet the Steelers, regardless of how the season is going, if you're the Jaguars, if you meet the Steelers and you have to play them at TIAA Bank Field as the Jaguars do, you're just concerned because Ben Roethlisberger goes there and has himself a day. Even when Rasheem Mathis has picked him off 2 times or whatever, he still has enough success to win the game. And yeah, I do think it'll be close. Like Phil said, though, that's dependent on if Sidney Jones plays or not. If not, then the Steelers probably could run away with this.
Well, it looks like it's left to me then, doesn't it? I am picking the obviously. The only reason I'm picking the Jaguars is because I'm getting fed up with all this. Oh, we're 9-0. We're going to be 10-0, and having him gloat every time I see him. I'm picking the Jaguars, which means I am a lone wolf, which means
you're an absolute mug.
Steelers. I don't care who they're playing. I'm never picking them.
You love the Jags, though.
We're going to do some, shall we say, less interesting games, and all we want is who you're picking, because not many people are going to be interested in some of these games. So we're just going to go around the horn with one-word answers. Bengals versus Washington. Pete,
going for Washington, mate. Was very impressed with Smith last week, so I'm going with Washington.
Number 11 is my boy. Carl, who you got?
I'll take Cincinnati.
Ooh. Robson?
I'm going to go with Washington this week.
Phil, who are you thinking?
Let's go. Houday, Joey B, Bengals.
Houday.
So there's not going to be, might not be a lone wolf. James, Bengals, Washington, choose.
Where is this game?
It is at Washington.
Give me Joe Burrow and Bengals. Still.
Interesting. Stan.
Bengals.
Bengals.
They've got, they're not as bad as they look, and they've got some good players in there. We just got crashed last week, just a bad game.
Scott.
All that trash talk on the Bengals from Carl, and then he picks them to win the freaking game.
Well, apparently we were thrown against carpets last week, and now they're going to win.
They played against another carpet. I don't. What you...
I would like to see Washington win because Alex Smith, I think, is the man, and Nick knows. You know, he was on the Chiefs and he was the Niners, so he's kind of our guy. But I think the Bengals are the slightly better team, so I'll pick the Bengals.
I can't go against Alex Smith, I'm afraid. He brought the team back last week. They fell just a bit short. Just the fact that he's on the field is amazing to me. I don't care if he's a game manager, a dinker and dunker. I don't care. If he doesn't win Comeback Player of the Year, then the NFL is fixed.
Mate, is anybody watching his games though, and he's taking hits, and I'm watching it with my hands over my eyes, thinking, I just
not
fear
again.
Just fear that something could happen. But I guess he wouldn't be playing if they were really that scared and that worried at the end of the day. He's obviously proved.
To be honest, you know what? He's that kind of guy that he would say, I'm really worried that, you know, I'm never going to walk again. Don't put me in there. But he obviously, they are, whether that's the other thing. Do you think defensive players probably don't go against him hard? I don't think that would happen. But
like looking at them Detroit lads, they were going in hard last week.
You know, but no, I'm definitely 100% Alex. You're still my boy.
Yeah, we want to see him get a W, don't we? And if he gets doubled against a load of carpets, then that's all good for me.
I said way back when we first started, Pete, didn't I? Even if he just came on and did a nil down, he'd still be a stand-up guy. And I really, you know, I'm just so pleased that he's actually on the field. Okay, another quick one word. Eagles at Browns. Let's start with you, Scott.
The Browns. And Nick, don't be putting down the dinking and dunking. Alex Smith, he started for the Steelers all year. He'd be 9-0 right now. So
that's very true. That's very true. And he's probably, even with his knackered leg, more mobile than Big Ben. But that's another story.
I think if Jake Luton was playing for the Steelers, he'd be 9-0, to be fair.
Even you'd be 9-0, Pete. Bloody hell, that's how easy it is. Stan, Eagles, Browns, choose.
I'm going to go for the Browns. I'm holding our divisional pride because it makes us look better, you know. But you know, they think the Eagles look as though that whole division there looks like a basket case. They all need, you know, to start again, really, you know. So whereas the Browns.
That, as you say, Stan, that division is just a shit show basket. It used to be the strongest one 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's gone to pieces, you know. Get rid of all the teams because it's just a waste of time division, really. I'm going to go the Browns. I can't see it. I've seen talk this week that they may be moving on from Wentz, and sometimes you can pretty much see why they would. But then he flashes, and all of a sudden you think maybe
he has one pass, which is unbelievable. He has 4 or 5 good passes, and the rest is just shit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
He's regressed to a certain extent.
Oh, it's not your turn. Shut up.
I know. I'm just adding something to it. Okay.
Right.
Carry on.
Eagles, Browns.
It'll be the Browns' first win against the Eagles since they came back in '99. So that's just a mad stat. But I think, obviously, as we've said there, the Eagles are they're like the worst of a bad bunch, aren't they? In a terrible sense in that division. So I think the Browns quite comfortably. I think.
Definitely. Got a quick comment, John V. John, glad you joined us again. Without a doubt, just seeing Alex Smith out there is a blessing. However, I do cover my eyes when opposing teams blitz on him. And yeah, that is a fair point. Do they? I don't know. I would like to think that they play their full game and do go at him as they would normally. But yeah, it is. It's just great. when you see what he's come through and everything, and if you've seen that, is it 30 for 30 they did on him and his injury? I mean, just he nearly died, and it was all that metal work around his. I mean, it's just amazing to see the guy even suit up, let alone being the star of it at the moment. So that's incredible. Phil, Eagles Browns.
I think a smart man just recently said Carson Wentz is shit. Go Brownies.
Yeah, before his turn as well.
It's the first time he's ever been called smart.
Carl Aston in there. Mind you, actually, by the way, that hat you've got on there looks a bit dusty, mate. So it must be quite old. I'm sorry. Back this season, mate. This is
I try to only wear it once a week.
1956 version, that is, isn't it? James, Eagles, Browns.
So the NFC East is terrible. To put this in perspective, the 1-win Jaguars would still be in the playoff race in this division.
Oh,
That's terrible. Okay. Point blank, period. It's no, I mean, like, it is what it is, man. Like, so there's no way I'm taking anybody from that division. Even, you know, like, even though people say the Browns are sporadic, but give me the Browns there, man.
Yeah, definitely. Right, Carl, now you can speak.
Yeah, Eagles are in trouble. That two-headed running attack monster in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, they're just going to kill them. Absolutely kill them. Browns all day long.
Pete?
I thought we were going to see the lowest scoring NFL game ever when it was 3-0 between the Browns and the Texans last week. But obviously, they ended up putting a few numbers in the other day. But for me, I'd like to see Jalen Hurts come in, take over from Wentz. But for me, here we go, Brownies. Here we go, woof woof.
Yeah, Browns for me all day long. So that'll Hellhound will enjoy that we've all picked them, and now they're probably going to end up and lay an egg. Ravens, Pete. Obviously, Ravens are on your radar.
They are, mate. I'll tell you what, there's a couple of coin flips this week, and this is one of them. And in the Great British Pod Off with Outside the Huddle, I've chosen Tennessee to win this game, and I'm going to stick with them. They're both on a little bit of a slump. I feel that people are working out the Ravens, and I love AJ Brown. The guy's a monster, and I think he puts up some numbers in this game. I'm going with Tennessee.
I'm going to go with Tennessee as well, and I think it will be interesting to see who has the most rushing yards, Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson. So that's going to be interesting.
It's interesting, Nick. I don't know if it was you were telling me, but obviously there was an interview with Lamar Jackson, and he was saying that apparently they could obviously hear him calling the plays on the field with the lack of people on there, and it's obviously the defense are sort of getting a one-up on them and sort of shutting them out. I don't know whether that's true or whether they're just using that as an excuse, but
I'm pretty sure that everyone can hear the opposing defense is getting called out in every game if there's no fans in the stadiums.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, mate. It's a good point.
We appreciate you, John. Thanks for watching. Always a pleasure watching you guys. Happy to see the rest of you joining. We only do this for the people that watch and the fact that it's just like everyone sitting around in a room.
I thought we did it to get away from our wives. What are you talking about?
And that. But hey, that thing with the empty stadiums, I don't know if it's an excuse or not. It's an interesting point of view, and I suppose once we get to the meat and potatoes of the season, the playoffs, etc. We'll see if home field. I still don't think home field advantage means a lot this year, but that's another story. Right. So, Pete, you've gone. Sorry, you think
I'm going for the Titans, mate.
Carl.
The foundations of that Ravens offensive line is starting to crumble now. With Stanley now out injured and now one of their guards out injured, I think that running game is going to be a problem for the Ravens to deal with. You only saw what happened last week when Damien Harris put 121 yards rushing on that defense. Now you've got King Henry the 22nd coming at you. Sorry, Tennessee win.
Another vote. Tennessee, James. Tennessee or the Ravens?
I'm gonna go with the Ravens here. I just have a hard time seeing Harbaugh lose 2 consecutive games. Like, he's in terms of adaptation, he's pretty good at that. And it's not just because me and Phil and Robinson dislike the Titans. Shout out to Derrick Henry, who's from Jacksonville area. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Ravens here. Because for me, I don't really see him losing, especially not just 2 games in a row, but to a team that's struggling in itself. I think they've lost 3 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It does seem weird to see the Ravens kind of struggling when the weapons they've got. And I saw some comments in the media saying that they were thinking that Lamar Jackson is still a runner that chucks the ball occasionally. I've seen better throws this year from him than previous seasons. It's a weird one. It is a weird one, the Ravens. And we'll see what happens. Phil,
Can I add?
Go on, Carl.
I'll add something to that. There was something while I did watch a bit of the Thursday night football between Seattle and Arizona. I look at Kyler Murray and I basically put this: he is Lamar Jackson, but with a much more stronger arm. So
you say that, but I watched all of the third, and I only ever watch either the highlights of obviously our in-division teams, but I actually watched the whole, and he just doesn't have such a very crisp spiral. He seems to wibbly wobbly it a bit. Yeah, he's definitely got the arm strength, as you saw when he threw that bomb to Nuke Hopkins. But some of the shorter and intermediate throws, it's not. Maybe it doesn't need to be a lovely spiral ball, but it just seems
need to be as long as it's on target to the receiver you're throwing to.
And it proves that interconference games that teams really step up their game against each other, because that Seattle defense is awful. I mean, it is the pits. But put it in a divisional game, and all of a sudden they actually find a way to win. Whereas, like, the Bills absolutely waxed them, and it was a good game, but unfortunately, just at the end, I think Murray made a few wrong decisions with where he was throwing a ball, and that cost them the game. But yeah, no, it's a weird one. He has got that big ball, but it just doesn't seem to spiral out of his hand on the shorter ones, really.
Hey, Nick. I'll say this, Nick. Me and Robinson and Phil witnessed Blake Bortles throw sliders for a whole year and still almost go to the Super Bowl. So yeah.
The funny thing is, you took his 5th-year option and paid him a fortune to do it.
Whoa! Why are we talking about what was happening? Why are we talking about this?
Nick, I have to remind you that Tim Tebow threw ducks when he was at Denver and took over the 1-4 team and took him to the playoffs. So and Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl throwing ducks, so I guess you don't have to throw a spiral, mate.
No, the running game took Peyton Manning to the Super Bowl. Wasn't his duck throwing. And I've seen Sean Hill play. Trust me, nobody threw ducks like Sean Hill with the Niners, because he was awful. In fact, there was a quote from one of the wide receivers at the time that was at the Niners who said, catching a pass from Sean Hill is like fielding a punt, and that's all you need to know. He was awful. Phil, I've forgotten what game we're talking about.
Ravens, Titans.
Phil, we got sidetracked. Who you got?
Well, Lamar Jackson is probably one of my favorite non-Jaguar players. Unlike Jay, where he said, this has nothing to do with how we feel about Tennessee. I disagree. This is 100% totally based on my disdain for Tennessee. So at least I can be honest about it.
Wow.
Right. So you're going, sorry, did you say you were going Ravens?
Going Ravens, yep.
So only one, I believe that's the only person for the Ravens at the moment. Is that right? Everyone else has gone Tennessee?
JP
Yeah.
Ravens.
James has gone Ravens. Funnily enough, the Jacksonville boys are going Ravens.
How ironic.
No,
I'm going to go down the middle with it. Oh, yeah, go on, Stan. Sorry, mate. Go on.
that's right. I just thought about the Jackson stuff. Does anybody think that some of these younger quarterbacks are feeling the strain a bit now? Like this thing, Murray the other night should have won the game. Really, he had 2 minutes left, and they got the ball downfield, and all they needed to go for was another first down to be, and he started to throw little wild corner, shots and everything. Lost it. Some of these younger first, second season quarterbacks are getting this deep into the season are struggling a bit with the right choice and thing. And I thought Jackson was found out a bit against Steelers, and obviously with the Patriots beating them, and he just needs to reset, as it were, and he's trying to do too much. It's open for discussion. That's all. People like.
I think definitely, Stan, you do bring up a good point, because unless you're Patrick Mahomes, who does it all the time, I think expectations become maybe heavy on their shoulders with the younger QBs. As you say, with Murray, when he could have got a first down right at the end, he chose to go for the end zone and maybe made the wrong throws, and they were a bit wild. And
they were.
Expectations are always high. If you have a very good first season, they expect you to be even better in the second season, and then take it up a notch, and then take it up another notch. And sometimes, again, depending on schedule and who you play, possibly, that expectation can't be met. I mean, Kyler Murray this year is far superior than he was last year, but he still is prone to those kind of, like we said at the end of that game, kind of mistakes where, it was a weird ending, because I'm sitting there wanting him to beat the Sea Chickens, obviously, because everyone knows that a fan wants the Seahawks to lose.
But do any of you
them? But expectations sometimes can't be met. But Kyler has gone above this year than he's gone above expectations. He's definitely in the MVP race, 100% in the MVP race this year.
The comment has come in there, Nick. You do.
I think we need to ban him, because all he ever does is bash me. And yes, but everyone's moved on from that. So I don't know why.
What's he talking about?
Mahomes the GOAT. I'm only joking. As I've always said, there's only one GOAT. That's Joe Montana, and Mahomes will never ever win all of those Super Bowls. That's all I'm saying. But anyway,
Carl's calling you a wanker in his head right now.
Does anybody remember?
Everyone knows we could have this debate about Joe Montana and old man what's his face over at Tampa, and it's two different eras, two different games. You can't really compare the two.
Pretty sure it's the same game, Nick, but
it's a different game from when they played to all the headsets and the cheating, deflating balls, secretly filming people. I need to go on. Sorry, right, Robson, did you make your pick? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to go in between what Jay and Phil said. Really, going to definitely stick with going for the Ravens this week. I think Harbaugh is not going to allow this to happen with his team. I think he'll find a way to get it done. And just, why would I want the Titans to win, really? There's just no reason why I'd want that to happen. So, Ravens all the way for me.
We get that. Scott, who are you thinking?
I'd probably lean Tennessee. And the Mahomie guy was on there, and I haven't seen the debate about who's better, Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, on the network TV shows, the Talking Heads lately. I don't know where that all went to, but I think it's a coin flip game, and I'd probably lean Tennessee, but that's a soft lean. I don't feel really all that strongly about either one of those teams, to be honest.
Cool. Stan.
Yeah, I think Tennessee as well. I think they're sort of, be looking at what's happened to, how they've lost they've lost the last 2 games, and they'll look at a roadmap of how to get at Jackson, and how to sort of just take advantage of their lack of confidence at the moment. Take advantage of their anxiety.
No.
I mean, so I'd go for
Right, we're going to do a few more of games that no one really gives anything about who's on this panel, so we just go with one-word answers. The Jets and Chargers, Pete. Choose.
Chargers.
Somehow, I think this game is going to have not many people in the UK watching, unless you're a fan of that team. Probably one of the lowest ever thingies on here. Carl.
I think UCF could beat both those. Beat both these teams. If I'm honest with you. I'll go with the authors of pain, and that's the Chargers. If they lose to the Jets, Jimmy, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, I think if they did lose, then Anthony Lynn will have a taxi outside the stadium waiting for him.
Yeah, but it is at LA, not at New York. So,
and of
this Chargers team is so much, but on paper, this Chargers team actually looks pretty stellar. Looks pretty good. But unfortunately, your record says what you are.
I mean, the good thing is, of course, if you're a Jets fan, Joe Flacco is starting. And he's 2-12 in his last 14 starts. So there you go. Robson, I think we are going to... Anyone who picks the Jets is either drunk or has taken some nefarious substances. Robson, who are you going for?
Teetotal for the day, mate. So, yeah, the Chargers for me, 100%.
There you go. Phil, have you got some vodka or something in that thing you're sipping, or are you picking the Chargers?
As much as it would help the Jaguars if the Jets won, I got to pick the Chargers. I don't think the Jets are going to win a game this year. If you look at the rest of their schedule, I don't think they're going to win a game.
No, you could be right. You could be right. James, are you drinking the Kool-Aid, or are you picking like everyone else? You can't. No one is going to pick. No one can pick the Jets in this game.
It's harder for me. I'm kind of leaning towards picking the Jets coming off that bye.
Stand by.
If there is a game that the Jets can win on their schedule that's left, it's this one. Should I do it, y'all?
You've got a lone wolf.
Should I do this?
Go on, James, do it.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead with the Jets, man.
3 more people to pick, and there could be a famous Jaguar lone wolf coming up.
Brilliant.
Scott.
It's going to be great. When I do the podcast with him a little bit later on, I'm going to make sure I remind him that he picked the Jets.
Scott.
If it happens, I'll say this. There will be Jaguars fans lining up to pay Joe Flacco's charity, okay? Because that's going to walk us right into the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. So for the sake of being in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes and being the front runner, let's go Jets.
Suck.
T-S, Jets.
There's 3 things that are guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and the Chargers choking and losing games that they should win. I'm going to go Jets too.
No! Avoid the lone wolf. I can't believe it.
Oh, my.
Stan.
Yeah. Well, I finally got around to using my pun for my Pickham team, and I call them Auf Wiedersehen Jets. So I got to stick with the Chargers. I mean, Herbert's got a lot of promise, but I mean they do fizzle out towards the end of the game a bit. But I think they must win. Really, Herbert's one of the better new quarterbacks on show. So and they've got a great stadium, so they've got to do something to justify it soon.
You see Justin Herbert's new hairdo. I think he was styling himself on Phil, wasn't he? By the looks of it, he looked.
Yeah.
I think he started for Prison for a new series of Prison Break.
Man, I mean, I didn't think anyone looked any younger than Kyler Murray, but now all of a sudden, Justin Herbert looks like he's about 8 years old.
You know how in time travel movies where someone starts altering the past and you slowly start to revert age? That's what's happening to Justin Herbert.
That haircut is exactly why the Jets will win right there.
I mean,
Heard it here first, people. The haircut is going to alter the space-time continuum. And that's why the Jets are going to win. But I am going for the Chargers.
I was waiting, but I was wondering if that was like a prank from like Tyrod Taylor was getting his own back on the medical team and that injection. He thought he'd sort of go in the middle of the night with a set of clippers and just shave all his hair off.
Even rookie contracts should be enough money to where you don't have to have your mom cut your hair anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Fantastic Sam's or something, or what? I don't know what to do with that.
I am disappointed for the Jets because obviously Frank Gore is still their running back. Obviously, he's going to retire a Niner, first ballot Hall of Famer, and I feel sorry every time I see his stats because they're just dog shit. Jets, sorry Jets, you're dog shit, but you've got a great future Hall of Fame running back playing for you, and you can't even open any holes for him. It's quite sad, actually. Right, Scott, you're going to lead us off with this one. Game of the week, Sunday Night Football, Raiders and Chiefs. Choose.
The Chiefs, I think, have I think the Raiders, I should say, have the Chiefs' full attention at this point. When you look at the first game, the Chiefs had about 20-something points wiped off the board in penalties. They still had a chance to get a stop at the end of the game to go down and possibly force, overtime. The game was at home. This one's obviously in Vegas. And the big talking point over here has been the victory lap that the Raiders took around Arrowhead Stadium, as if the defending Super Bowl champs needed any bulletin board material or any extra motivation. Bush League guys would say that that's Bush League, I think, by the Raiders. So I think the Chiefs open it up. I think they come out focused. I think they come out on a mission, and they want to embarrass the Raiders in their new stadium on Sunday Night Football. So I think the Chiefs come out and just lay a major league ass whooping on the Raiders on Sunday night.
That's as you say, bullet board material all day long. And Pete, the future Super Bowl champions again, who may come up against your sorry ass team, put on a display.
Well, I'm more worried about the Raiders
when you get to the playoffs. So
I'm more worried about the Raiders. Mate, the Raiders have just beaten Denver. They've just beaten the Chargers. They do the clean sweep in the AFC West by beating the Kansas City Chiefs. I just think Derek Carr, he's absolutely buzzing after beating them last time. It had been a long, long time since they beat him. Now he's got them in the Death Star. And I just think they're going to be looking at it. Beaten Chargers, beaten Denver. They go in and they go to the Death Star and they beat KC. I've liked the Raiders all season. I told you they were going to be second best in the AFC West from the very beginning. And I think they go in there and they do the double over KC. Sorry, Scott.
What is it you're drinking again, Pete? Neat whiskey or something?
The old Mexican beers, mate. Pacifico.
Ponzi beer, as usual. Carl, who have you got?
This is probably the first time I'd actually agree with Pete on something. Because I am also... I'm going to say this right here, okay? I'm going to point to Scott, Phil, and to James on this. Do you ever watch First Things First on FS1?
No, that's the one with what's his name?
Some twat called Nick Wright. These were the keys that he put in place for how the Raiders can upset the Chiefs. Here are his three things. He said, Chiefs fly to Oakland instead of Vegas. Chiefs think the game is on Monday Night Football and prayers. The ultimate disrespect this guy is showing to a team that's the only team that's actually managed to beat the Chiefs this season. It grinds my gears to say this. There are a few things that the Raiders need to do. Game manage the clock. Utilize the running game as much as you possibly can and only use Derek Carr in key down situations, and do not make unnecessary penalties. You do that, you have every chance of beating the Chiefs. Raiders will not move off that game plan when they went into Arrowhead. The Chiefs will come out firing, and this will be a fireworks display. But I think the Raiders are still going to take this.
Interesting. James, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, this one a toss up to me. It could go either way. I just, in this particular situation, after losing to the Raiders the first time, I don't trust Gruden to do it again, is what this boils down to. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. Was I on mute?
Helps it? No, it was me. Helps if I unmute myself.
No, it's much better when you're muted, mate. Like that.
Phil, who you got?
Yeah, Pete mentioned, they're playing in the Death Star there, which is why I expect Patrick Mahomes to throw that football right into that arc reactor and blow that damn thing up.
Stay on target.
Definitely. Robson.
Yeah, I can't see Gruden doing it twice. I think Andy Reid's going to cook something up, and I think it could be probably a bit of a hammering in some senses, I think. So, yeah, Chiefs for me.
Stan, who have you got?
I'm going to go with the Raiders. I just think that I don't know. Maybe that's when they played the Bills. The Chiefs seemed to go into sort of safe mode and just played the running game. Really, I know the weather was rubbish, but they as adaptable. They didn't seem to be that charismatic, in the way that you expect Mahomes to sort of sparkle in every game. He just gave the ball to the running backs and said, "Right, you get on with it." Was it Hilaire or somebody? And so I think that that there's, given that the Raiders got this kind of slight edge over them, mental edge, that they might do it again. I think Jacobs is good. I think Carr is underrated. Waller's coming on well. It's worth a try. I was a betting man. There's no money in backing odds on favourites.
Exactly.
Well, me personally, I hope the Chiefs go in there and absolutely punch them in the mouth and kick them in the nuts. I hate the Raiders. I don't care if they're the Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll go anywhere where people have a stadium for us, Raiders. I hope KC go in there and just kick them in the nuts. There's a lot at stake in this game for both teams, and I think Andy Reid is a far superior coach. Carly, happy birthday. One of our regular contributors, shall we say, to our show. He is a mailman over in America, and we were having a conversation about the Beastie Boys and Public Enemy and things like that last night. I thought his birthday was earlier in the week, but it's today. So, Carly, happy birthday. Good to have you on board. But for me, I think KC are going to make this is a statement game for Kansas City, and I think we're going to punch him in the mouth.
There's two stats to keep. There's two stats to look at in this game. One, Andy Reid hasn't been swept by a division opponent since he's been in Kansas City. And two, Patrick Mahomes has beaten the Raiders in the second game in the series of the season, 75-12, since he became the starter 2 years ago.
So that kind of backs up at least me and you, Scott, anyway.
Like you said, Scott, just seeing Derek Carr celebrating with the Raiders like they just won the Super Bowl. I mean, they're going to be buzzing. They know they can beat you, and that's the thing. They've got the edge. They've got nothing to be afraid of. They've beaten you before, and they're going to do it again.
Every record is meant to be broken.
Indeed.
We shall see, gentlemen. Right, another quite intriguing game. Again, one-word answers. Monday Night Football, Rams at Bucks. Pete, who you got?
Tampa Bay for me.
Carl?
Bucks by 3.
Nice. Robson?
You're muted.
Muted. I think you said Rams.
I think he said Rams.
I am muted. I did say Rams. Yeah, I am Rams all the way in. Yeah.
Right. Okay, Phil?
I'm gonna go Rams.
There's not many lone wolves today. The more people we have on, you see, the less chance there is of a lone wolf.
There's a lot of coin flips this week, though, mate.
James, who you got?
Jalen Ramsey versus Leonard Fournette, huh? I'll go Rams.
Rams. Stan?
I don't particularly like the Buccaneers setup, because it's like a circus sort of thing. They seem to be like the Dirty Dozen, whatever. They're, recruiting. Was it Brown? Wasn't it they got? So
yeah, we had a long conversation about Brown being in the league when he shouldn't be and things like that. And I believe,
right, yeah. But it's just
looking into something else that he's just been up to.
They got smacked around by the Saints,
So you're going Rams, Stan, are you?
Not particularly, no. I can't really reach an opinion. I just don't like the Buccaneers, really. I just don't like the idea of all these older players, coming, making comebacks and showing off. That's all. And Viagra stuff, There's something irritating about it somehow. I don't know why. But, there's an interesting theme here. I think everyone think about the teams that have lost players last year. Like they lost Gurley, the Rams, and they're not good. And then Hopkins, the Texans lost Hopkins. The certain players on the Vikings lost Diggs. Some players left lost clubs, and these clubs have just suddenly not integrated, but they've fallen back by giving away or selling one particular player. And I think Gurley comes into that. They got rid of him for some reason or other. They're not as impressive. So I think that the Buccaneers will probably win, but I wouldn't bet on either of them really.
You're saying that through gritted teeth by the looks of it, Stan. Scott, what have you got in this one?
Buccaneers.
It's actually going to be a really good game, this one, Nick. I do feel. I mean, I'd actually sort of quite like to I'm definitely going to be watching the highlights on this one, but you're not quite sure what Tampa Bay you're going to sort of have turn up, the one that's going to put up a shitload of numbers or the one that just fell apart against New Orleans. It's just, it's wacky. I mean, they've got players there, but I don't even think it's really a skilled player that they can just put up some serious numbers on offense. But when you see 1 week Brady having his worst game ever, and then the next week putting up 40 burgers, I just don't know. It's so hard to pick whenever Tampa Bay play. It really is, and the Rams are looking good, so it's a tough one. But I just think the Bucks are going to put it all together. They really are.
I don't want to pick.
Go on, mate. You ain't going to go with the Rams, are you?
It's in division, but I think if this Buccaneers defense gets after Jared Goff, everyone's seen what he's like. He is a deer in the headlights if he gets pressured. And this defense can bring pressure on Goff. I mean, even the Niners, with their depleted squad, got pressure on Goff and made him make mistakes. And that's the key to beating the Rams, I think, is getting pressure on Goff, neutralizing Aaron Donald, running it at him, just bringing it to him all the time. Can Leonard Fournette be that back? I'm not so sure. I don't think so. I mean, I think he's steadily falling off a cliff, if you like, since he's been at the Bucks. He has been injured. He was obviously the feature back when he was
running. I personally think that the running game will get stifled for the Bucks. This will be the only way they'll be getting points on the Rams is it'll be by through the air.
That's fair enough.
Rams are a top five defense against the run.
I just can't pick. I can't pick the Rams even if I wanted to. But again, I think the Buccaneers defense will bring it to Goff, and I can only see the Bucks being the winners. Hopefully, because that will keep the Niners in the hunt at 4 and 6. But that's another story. I'm not talking Niners this week because it's Saturday. I don't have to worry about a game tomorrow, and it will just depress the shit out of me if we have to speak about them. The only thing I will say, Mike, if you're watching, who is a Seattle fan, and he keeps moaning because I bring up injuries. The 49ers this year have now used 92 different players in the games.
Wow.
It's an NFL record. Nobody has had an injury history like the Niners this year. It's only obvious that we're going to suck after all these injuries. 92 players. That's even more than they bring into camp on the first day of camp. So, what are you going to do? Anyway, I don't know if it's going to be a good game or a boring game. Andy Dalton, I think, is clear to come back. Not that that means anything. The Cowboys are a shit show. And I think it's hilarious because I don't like Jerry Jones. But, Pete, Cowboys, Vikings.
Yeah, mate. Delvin Cook's an absolute touchdown machine, mate. They absolutely smashed Dallas apart in this game for me.
Yeah. Cool. Carl? Well, you got some flies above your head or something.
Scolding, you idiot. Vikings. Yeah, Vikings all day long. Dalvin Cook is just going to have a day. He's just going to have a day.
Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, Vikings.
James?
I'm gonna roll with the Vikes too.
Phil?
So you guys, I don't know if y'all know about this, but my second team, I am from Dallas, so my other team. So my teams are a combined 3 and 15 this year, so it's been awesome. But no, Vikings roll here. I also have Dalvin Cook in fantasy, so go Vikings.
Stan, who you got in this one? Vikings?
Vikings. Just Vikings for the running game, really. Yeah.
Clean sweep, Vikings. Dallas suck. Let's see more pictures of Jerry Jones at the game, looking like he's sucking on a lemon, feeling all sorry for himself. Another good. This would have been a good game had everyone been fit on both teams, but Broncos and Dolphins. Pretty much depleted Broncos. Drew Lock, I think, is probably injured again, although he hasn't panned out, I think, how Pete's favourite GM would like, old Horseface. Pete?
Yeah, Dolphins are getting it done and serious contenders in the AFC East now, so I think they continue. I think they've made the right choice going with Tua now. And I think the Dolphins continue their win streak.
But to be honest, you'd always pick against the Broncos because you don't like Horseface when you got rid of your greatest of all time, Tim Tebow. They couldn't even get him picking the cones up and the water bottles. He was that bad.
I'll never forgive him for it, mate. I'll never forgive him for it.
That's why I think he's the best GM ever. Carl, who you got?
I kind of need Miami to lose this game for us to have any chance of catching them up, but Tua's going to take it up a notch. Dolphins.
A lot of people commented on Tua saying he looked like a lot like Steve Young last week. Some of the throws he was, some of the decisions, and that's not a bad comparison. Maybe a bit early into his
good company,
into his career possibly, but it wasn't Skip Bayless making those comments. So sometimes you can actually take something from what you look.
Fuck Bayless.
Skip Bayless.
The second best lefty after Tim Tebow.
James, who are you taking?
I'll go with the Dolphins. I like what Brian Flores has built, and Tua is playing well. So yeah, Dolphins.
Cool. Phil?
Yeah.
Yep, same with me. 2 a time, fins up. Go Dolphins.
Robson.
Yeah, I agree with Jay. I think Florida's got something going on there in Miami. So yeah, Dolphins for me.
Scott.
Yeah. Second, my second favorite city in the country, Miami. I think Nick, you know why. I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
Definitely. Stan, who have you got?
Yeah, I'll go with the Dolphins. I think they've been very smart in holding Tua back and letting him adjust to the game, and not throwing him in the deep end. And they've sort of given him time to sort of see what's going on, assess the pace of the game, really. And he's taking it to it like a duck to water at the moment. And and he's in the second half of the season, so he can make more of an impact now. So he looks very dynamic. The speed of those throws is amazing.
Nick, I have to say, I'm a little bit annoyed that the Dolphins have let the whole world down because we're not getting to see Fitzmagic shirts after the game anymore, and that is a big, big sadness to me. I mean, that guy has amazing shirts.
It looks like you bought one from his collection with what you're wearing.
Mate, I would happily share his collection, but I just haven't got the chest hair to go with it. That's the problem.
Well, shave some off of your face and stick it on your chest.
Stick this on your chin in a minute.
I'm going Dolphins as well. Second season under Flores, they look good. I still think they'd be doing as well. Maybe not as well, even if Fitzmagic was still in there. I think he's got that team working really, really well together. I like the Dolphins. Packers, Colts. Carl.
I think this. If Indianapolis can actually get to Rodgers, I think the Colts have a really good opportunity of actually winning this game. That defense is the top defense in the NFL at this current moment in time. Philip Rivers actually playing pretty solid, to be honest with you. That's what you do when you stick a good offensive line in front of him. Naheem Hines is performing really, really well as running back. This one's a toss of a coin. I'm going to say Green Bay get the win, and it would not surprise me if this was done in overtime.
I think this has got a potential to be, hopefully, as good as the Chiefs-Raiders game. From a neutral point of view, looking at it on paper.
It won't be high scoring. Be high scoring.
The Packers, Devontae Adams, their tight end, they've got good offense, defense, a little bit suspect. Philip Rivers being Philip Rivers from 5 to 6 years ago, I think he definitely, like you said, Carl, he has improved so much because he's actually got an offensive line.
Yeah.
So he can actually be the quarterback he should be. And I'm quite happy with that because, I don't think you can rule this team out of making a playoff run if that offensive line can protect and keep him upright. It's good to see him back where he was, and this could be his last hurrah. Let's not beat around the bush. The defense for the Colts is pretty good. DeForest Buckner, whilst he isn't getting sacks, he's still getting a lot of pressure inside and stopping the run. I like the Colts in this game. I've just seen a message from Robson. He's had a power cut, so he doesn't know if he's going to make it back on, but he does send his apology. So it makes a change. Pete normally cuts the show, so he might have had to make a different power cut. What do you think, Stan, in this one? Who do you think is going to come out on top?
Well, there's part of me sort of waiting for Rivers to have a stinker, the old Hail Mary 3 interception type game, but he hasn't had one so far this season, apart from early on. I think he had a bad game. His defense is good. Rodgers, there's that nagging doubt about some of the ways they've been beaten this year, and I'll go with the Colts, I think.
Colts, okay. James.
Well, with Peyton Manning no longer there, the Colts are a little bit tolerable for me and Phil now than they used to be. And I mean, the Colts defense is underrated. Like, people overlook that defense, and I don't know why. Like you said, DeForest Buckner is a star. So yeah, I'm gonna go with them just based off of what Green Bay showed us last week. They need to be concerned going in this game, and it's a home game for the Colts. So yeah, I'll go with the Colts.
Phil.
Carl, I'm glad you mentioned one of my, even though he is playing for the Colts, one of my favorite players in the league right now is Nyheim Hines. James Robinson had 2 touchdowns called back against the Packers last week. So Nyheim Hines I think he's gonna run crazy on him. I'm going with the Colts.
I think is that a clean sweep for the Colts?
What about Scott?
Sorry, Scott. Are you going to lone wolf it, or are you going to stick with us?
Yeah, the Packers have shown some chinks in the armor here, and their defense can be just absolutely dreadful at times. I'm going to take the Packers. I'll take Aaron Rodgers over Philip Rivers all day, but that's not a confident, pick. I just, Green Bay, like I said, they've shown that they can be vulnerable, that they can be beaten. I'm not that sold, though, on the Colts yet, especially, like I said, when you're talking about Aaron Rodgers going against Philip Rivers, I'll take Green Bay.
Has everyone picked? And I think
No, I haven't picked, but I'm going for the Colts. I just think that going on last week, Green Bay struggling against Jacksonville. I just think the Colts look pretty good this season, and I think that they just sneak the win against Green Bay. I think the AFC is really strong this year against the NFC, and I think we see an AFC win over an NFC team in this one.
So does that mean we have our only second lone wolf of all the picks?
No, I said no.
Did you pick the Packers, Carl? Sorry.
Yeah, I did take the Packers, but I did it in overtime.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Well, unfortunately, if you're a betting man, you only get normal time. So overtime don't count. So Scott lone wolfed on it, which is very good. Right. Another, I don't know how to describe this game. Another weird game. 2 teams that try to look good and then injury bug bites. Panthers and Lions. McCaffrey's out again. I think a lot of the offense runs through him.
I think Teddy might be out as well, mate.
I don't think so. I think he's good. I think he'll be good to go.
Is he?
I think he's good to go.
It's another one. This is another game that you don't want to watch because there's other better games to watch at the same time. I am going to pick. I think the Panthers aren't any good. I'm going to go with the Lions. I think the Lions will win this, and it's one of those games that if it was on Thanksgiving, it would be like the first game on because no one really cares about it. The other 2 games tend to be the better games in Thanksgiving, like the middle one and the last one. But
the Lions are always on Thanksgiving.
I'm going the Lions. Pete?
Yeah, well, I thought that Teddy Bridgewater was out in this one and CMC was out, so I wasn't giving the Panthers much of a chance. I think if Teddy's playing, they stand more of a chance. But again, I have picked Detroit to win this game in the Great British Pod-Off, so I'm going to stick with my choice and stick with Detroit.
Carl?
I am also going to go with Detroit because 2 things. First of all, this is the battle in the litter box between Carolina and Detroit. And secondly, it's also going to be down to very fine margins. 2 kickers, Matt Prater and Joey Sly, both we know can kick 55-yarders plus. This could come down to who's going to get the ball last and who's going to have the stronger leg. I think Carolina pinch this. They pinch it by a field goal.
Ooh, Well, there could be a lone wolf situation. No, Stan. Who are you going for?
Well, as you said, it's like there's both mediocre teams in a way at the moment. I'm tempted. I think that the Lions are less mediocre in the sense that they've got a very good quarterback, who can win games and pull them out. And they've got Golladay, who I quite like as a receiver. And they seem to crop up with a good win every now and then. So I'll go with the Lions, and that's just a bit more consistent, slightly more consistent in a way. Whereas the Packers,
I feel a lone wolf coming on. James.
Carl, you're not alone on this. I don't trust Matt Patricia if Joe Brady has a surge late in the game, and I think that's what this will come down to. So yeah, that being said, like we talked about the Lions earlier in the year, and they just can't hold on to leads. I don't know if much has changed since then, but again, if Joe Brady has a late game surge as an offensive play caller, I don't trust Patricia to stop him, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Okay, Phil, who are you picking?
Again, this is not one I totally feel great about. Again, both teams not great, but I do think DeAndre Swift is kind of finding his footing. Now he's going to be the starter, and he's out. Okay. Well,
Concussion.
Never mind. Panthers.
Yeah, can I change my? Well, Adrian Peterson.
No, you can't change it. It's tough shit.
Adrian Peterson, anyway.
Shut up.
Adrian
Scott.
Peterson.
Fine, I was going to go with the Lions. I'll stick with the Lions. I like Matthew Stafford, man. I always like Matthew Stafford.
Scott, who you got?
I'm going Lions. It's another one of these coin flip games. I just think with CMC being out and with Bridgewater, even if he plays not being 100% healthy, this is like the Matt Stafford special. This is where this dude has built this career that he's got with all these big numbers and beating up on lesser or even competition. So give me the Lions.
Cool. Okay, 2 games left to pick.
Did Stan pick? He did.
Sorry.
Yeah, he picked Golladay. didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So you went like,
Just before we moved on, Nick, I just wanted to have a quick check. So I was just trying to see who the backup QB was at the Panthers, because I thought someone said it was Geno Smith, but I don't think
PJ Walker.
XFL legend PJ Walker.
Right. Yeah.
So there's no sipping on vino, checking out Gino then.
Where is Gino?
Still getting his jaw rewired after getting smacked for not paying a debt. Patriots at Texans. 4-5 Patriots. Who'd have ever thought we'd be saying those words? Carl, who you got?
Texans are a bad team. They can't stop the run. Defense is not playing very well. Deshaun Watson is trying to do everything in his power to actually get anything going, and it's just struggling right now. My boys, on the other hand, well, no one expected us to beat them. I bet neither any one of you predicted that the Patriots would beat the Ravens last week. So I'm going to take my team. Damian Harris is going to have a game and a half because Houston are the 3rd worst team to give up the rushing yards.
Spoken like a true homer. Well done, Carl. I'd expect nothing less.
I broke my pen in due course. So,
Scott, who you got in this one?
I'm gonna take the Texans. I when I watch the Patriots, I just do not see a good football team. Not that the Texans are a great team, but they have more weapons. And since they've gotten Bill O'Brien out, Deshaun Watson has been unleashed. He's been freed, whatever term you want to use. So give me the Texans.
Awesome. Phil.
The Texans have 2 wins this year. Both are against the Jaguars. That tells you all you need to know. I'm going with New England.
James?
I don't think Deshaun Watson's having that bad of a season, to be honest with you, but I'm not taking the Texans. They can't stop the run, and that's that's what Cam Newton and Bill Belichick got going. With them being 4-5, they see a chance to break even, and it's hard to see them not breaking even, especially with the Texans defense being on the opposite end of the ball.
Stan, what do you reckon in this one?
I've got a secret vested interest in this, and I want the Potatoes to win because I want Watson at Pittsburgh. Any Pete? Would you like him?
What? Deshaun Watson at Pittsburgh? Well, I think with the contract that Big Ben's got at the minute, I don't know if we're going to be seeing him anytime soon. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I would absolutely bite anybody's arm off to have him at Pittsburgh.
Well,
but it's
we're not going to
happen, so.
We're not going to go with Mason Rudolph, though, are we?
Well, plus as well, Deshaun Watson signed a 4-year deal at the start of the season as well.
Was that when he thought he had a good team, though?
Definitely a player I'd like to see there, but very unlikely that the Steelers get any big name players with the salary cap as it is and the contracts that we've got at the Steelers, that's for sure. But Stan, I'd love to see him there, that's for sure.
He might want to join a winning team. That's a winning franchise.
And there's a no trade clause in the contract.
You and your salary cap, Pete. All you got to do is look at what the Chiefs are doing with the salary cap, and they manipulate it. So,
but these are players that are getting new contracts, Nick. These were players that were due new contracts, and they've given them guaranteed money. That's the difference, mate.
You're not going to lose the amount of players you'll think you're going to lose next season because
we'll lose
salary cap doesn't mean anything. It gets manipulated. So
salary cap.
The salary cap, seriously, mean it's just a figure. It's pie in the sky. 177 million or whatever it's going to be, right? They will work a way around it. They'll load the contracts. They'll do this. They'll do that. Because if Pittsburgh are win now, and okay, so let's say they don't win this year, right? A bit like the Niners last year, went close, didn't win it. They will do next season. We've got 30 free agents, I think it is, next year, going into next year. And the ones they want to keep, even with hardly any money, the pieces they want to keep, they will keep. It doesn't matter if it's 200 million, 70 million. They will find a way of making the contracts. Behind the scenes, Big Ben might take a wage cut because he knows next year, if you don't win it all this year, next year could be your year. So instead of him earning 37 million, he might cut a deal where he only takes 10 million, which then gives you 27 million. And all. So seriously, you worrying about the salary cap is just, it's nonsensical. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it depends what contracts you've got coming in, though, Nick, and what's going out, and what people are doing, and what people are guaranteed. You can't.
Everybody will, if people want to stay in Pittsburgh to win it all, or if they win, say they win the Super Bowl this year, and they think next year we're going to do it again, they will take whatever they can to stay with a winning team. If Mahomes this season wins a Super Bowl and they have to pay him whatever it is next year, but they maybe, I don't know who their free agents coming up next year are, but they might chip away some of his money. They might take a bit of Kelsey's money and backload it so they can afford to keep their players. Yeah. And that's what will happen.
I think it's the Steelers' way, mate, but we'll see.
That's what will happen. I guarantee you, all of these people you think are going to go, Juju Smith-Schuster, right, is a prime example. He's going to get paid, right?
We don't know he's going to get paid.
Is he?
But
he's had one good year.
We don't know he's going to get paid.
If he, from now on until the end of the season, is catching touchdowns and blah, 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 and all that, they would be foolish. Even forgetting Claypool, forget him. They would be foolish to lose a player like that and maybe let him go to a division. Well, if he's an unrestricted free agent, he can go wherever he likes. So he could end up on the Ravens. They're not going to allow that to happen. So somehow, some way, they will find a way to pay these players. That's what Kansas City are doing now. They're in win now, and they want to maybe win 3 or 4 Super Bowls, and the only way short term is to load contracts so that they can keep those players there. Salary cap doesn't
look at the. I mean,
Oh,
look at the
stop.
Saints. The Saints were the worst team in cap situation when they came. The season started, and somehow they found a huge contract for Alvin Kamara. I mean, as long as you have a competent general manager, the salary cap is so easily manipulated and flexible, and you can move money around and switch things, bonuses, and defer payments. Yeah, there's no
I mean,
reason you should be losing
I
your
thought
guys.
talking about the Saints is a very good point, actually, and that is the last game we're going to pick shortly. But I saw something that said the Saints were miles over the salary cap for next season
They are, yeah.
because of who they've had to pay this year. But again, if you're a good team, you might lose a few players. You know, not players that aren't so good, but they weren't going to let Kamara walk. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah, we're talking one player there, though. We've got
about
a
nothing.
multitude of players that, you know, are vital to the team. But we'll see, mate. We'll see.
And talking about the last game, I would like to big up the San Francisco 49ers defense last week, because we put Drew Brees out for a few games that might actually open up that division a bit. I don't think it was a flag. I think when you're in that situation, I thought it was a clean hit. He didn't lead with his head. He just tackled him. And, you know, a lot of people have said that. And he's not getting fined for that hit on Drew Brees either, by the way. So it couldn't have been that dirty. I give the Falcons a really good chance in this game now, because Taysom Hill, he's a kind of unknown. I saw him. I mean, Jameis Winston's got to be like severely pissed, because he really should be the second quarterback on that team, because Taysom Hill really is just a gadget player, does nothing. No, I don't think anyone's actually seen it throw more than maybe a couple of passes, because I watched the highlights again after Brees went out. Obviously, I had to sit through the whole game, but most of the time I was like that. Taysom Hill didn't really throw any passes, was hand it off. I give the Falcons a chance, and I'm going Falcons in this game, purely based on the QB, because you can't put it all on Kamara. You can't. This is going to be a difficult game. If the Falcons can step up their defense, and Matty Ice does what Matty Ice does, I could definitely see a Falcons win. Pete.
Yeah, I'm actually going with the Falcons as well, mate, to be honest with you. I mean, I was quite surprised to hear Taysom Hill starting, because I thought that they would have gone with Winston and then obviously had him as coming in to still do the sort of trickery plays and stuff. Obviously, if he's going to be the starting QB, that's going to take that pretty much out of what they do. Obviously, with Kamara there catching the ball out the backfield, he's always going to be a threat. But I think since Raheem Morris has gone in there, I think he's 3-1. He's doing a good job. And I actually see the Falcons pulling off an upset here.
I think the weird thing you say about that, Pete, I think the weird thing is Sean Payton still thinks Taysom Hill is the QB of the future. And obviously they got Winston in as insurance, but maybe they don't trust him. They can't trust him in this game, possibly, because it is still quite important for the Saints if they want to win. But yeah, it's. I'd still have Winston at the Niners. I would. I like him. He's a gunslinger. He doesn't give a shit. He always, if he's in the right system, he'll give you a chance to win. Carl, who have you got in this one?
Do the Falcons have any tape actually on Taysom Hill playing quarterback? No, no one does. They've got Taysom playing running back, wide receiver, and at tight end. No one's ever seen him play as a quarterback before in the regular season. So no one knows what Taysom Hill is going to come out with. All I will say is this, sir. This is how it's going to pan out. He's going to hand it to Kamara, toss it to Kamara, hand it to Latavius Murray, 1 or 2 quarterback draws, and then hand it off to Alvin Kamara even more. That's the way it's going to run for the Saints game in this game. But I would not I can't trust the Falcons. I cannot trust them. I really can't. They have a habit of blowing leads, choking away leads. Any negative adjective I give to the Falcons and choking leads it just isn't rectified. I'm sick of my neck on the line here. I'm going for the Saints win.
I'm not really putting your neck on the line saying the Saints are going to win, but I get the point.
That's a good point that John made, actually. It could be a smokescreen and we could see Winston. I don't know if they want Taysom Hill to be the starter if Breeze decides to retire this year. But I can't. As you say, Carl, we haven't got any film on him. But from what I've seen, I wouldn't say that he was going to be the starter going forward, but we'll see. Stan, who have you got in this?
I've got no faith in the Falcons either. I wouldn't, back him to, win a raffle really, and they're just so haunted by failures, losing leads, I think so. I just think they've got some know-how, the Saints, they'll find a way through the loss of, the quarterback and just, bucket really, they've got a big enough defense and, they've got, they'll have enough about themselves to work it out in a way. A bit like Liverpool going on night against Leicester. They've got no players, but we're still going to win, So, Saints.
James, who are you taking?
Fun fact, I'm actually the Falcons is my second team. I'm from Georgia. I live in Georgia.
Poor bastard! I send my condolences.
Yeah. Even though the city of Atlanta is really shining right now with all the stuff that's going on, but not necessarily Falcons though.
Not the sports side.
Right. There you go. I'll take the Falcons here. The Taysom Hill thing is, if they start him, I don't like until you show me like what your arm talent is on a consistent basis. Like I don't know how we can go with that. And if they start Jameis Winston, the Falcons are known for choking leads, but at the same time, if Jameis Winston is out there, he's also known for giving people gifts as well. So it's kind of a give and take type of thing. But I'll go with the Falcons by a narrow margin of 3 points.
It's definitely going to be an interesting game without Drew Brees in, that's for sure. Phil, who you got?
So Jay, I've known you for a long time, and if there's one thing I've learned from being friends with you, it's that never bet on Atlanta sports. So I am going. I'm so sorry.
Scott.
Yeah, picking the Falcons is like picking gas station sushi. Yeah, it looks good, but you're going to be disappointed and sick afterwards. So I'm going to go the Saints. Drew Brees being out, it's not like Drew Brees has been Drew Brees of the past, really. I mean, they got to be able to get from Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston what they've been getting from Brees this season. So, there's no way I'm picking the Falcons for any game. Give me the Saints.
Interesting. So that's just about going to wrap it up from us. I'd like to obviously thank Robson for coming on. Unfortunately, power cuts. Normally I lose my internet and I haven't, which makes a change.
Yeah, it's good to see Robson again.
It was good to see Robson again. Phil, James, always a pleasure to have you on. Don't be strangers. Anytime you want to come on and talk NFL, do picks, do whatever, hit us up on Twitter. Obviously, I know we were having a conversation last night. Unfortunately, the tune I was going to play, I think if I did play it, we'd probably get taken off the copyright, etc. So, I didn't really want to chance it because I know what it's like where certain people have played certain songs, whether they're political or not, and it's not been good. So, unfortunately, I will listen to it after I've come off because I thought it's a great song. John V, We really appreciate your comments all the way through the show. Hope you've enjoyed it. Happy birthday, Carly, as well. Stan, as ever, been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
Probably Cowboys later on, as that is my favourite all-time Auf Wiedersehen Pet episode. If anyone out there wants to see some of Stan's writing ability, Auf Wiedersehen Pet is on YouTube. It's a British TV show, and it's my favourite show, and I love it. Stan, thank you very much. We really appreciate the time. Carl, as ever, you've been entertaining.
That's okay. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for not playing AC/DC.
Off. Don't even get me started on AC/DC.
I know.
That album
Off
is
you go.
fantastic, and I can't wait for the tour next year, because I'm even dragging Pete along to actually see a decent band play live that isn't Michael Jackson, and Bad is still one of his worst albums. This is the Shank Club NFL.
Nick,
Thank you for joining everyone.
before you go, Nick, hold on. But just before you go, just wanted to say, obviously, thanks everyone here. But James and Phil, if you just want to stand in the background after we've finished the broadcast here, we'll obviously sort of work out what we're going to do sort of after this, if that's cool. But Scott, thanks again, mate. Carl, thank you very much. Phil, James, Stan, go Steelers. I hope you enjoyed the game. And don't speak to any of the others. Scott, if I don't speak to you beforehand, have a happy Thanksgiving, mate.
Yep. Same to you all. Take care, you guys.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be taking in some Thanksgiving game. As I said, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for all the comments. We wouldn't do this if it wasn't for you guys that tune in, because as I said, we're not like any other show that you see on the NFL, because it's just a bunch of guys sitting around talking ball, and we love doing it. And as I say, it's probably the only decent thing that's come out of all this pandemic is Pete and I decided that we were going to do this show, and we thought me and him talking football. But the pilot show, just a quick story before we go, the shows we did that were off air when we first got StreamYard, it was just me and him arguing and insulting each other. And we kind of thought, you know what, that'll work, but it wouldn't work just us two talking shit for 2 hours. So we invite other people on to talk shit, and it works. This is the Shank Club NFL. Thank you, everyone. Happy birthday, Carly. Have a great day, guys, and we will catch you all again next Saturday. Usual time, usual place.